The only 5-year-old device I daily drive without thinking twice. Hey, what's up to all my Luscious fans? Steve Alicious here, and of course, you could read the title of the video. I'm talking about the Apple iPhone 8 Plus, and in essence, I do daily drive it because it's been my work phone for the last few years. And unlike a lot of devices of this vintage, it's not a device, and Apple devices, if you know, they're not devices where you use them and every day you're thinking, every time you pick it up, oh man, this is starting to get bad. This is starting to lag. This is starting to be a mess. This can run the most up-to-date version of iOS and run it well enough that you don't really even know when you're using it that's a 5-year-old device. And that, at the end of the day, is why the premium that they put on their devices at the start, that on first glance always seems like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. And everybody jumps all over it. That's why there was a lot of chatter this week with the iPhone SE, and that's kind of one of the catalysts for this video, is everybody saying, how could they possibly, with that design, how could they possibly release it again at that price? You could get so many different things. You could get a Xiaomi phone for like $30 that could do more than that. Well, okay, fine. But answer me this. Come back to me in 2 years with that Xiaomi phone and tell me how you're doing. As opposed to 5 years later with this design and this chipset that's older doing what it's able to do. And there's still a lot to like about the iPhone 8 Plus in 2020. And one of the things is Amazon Renew right now, link will be in the description, $245. $245 for still getting quite a bit of functionality on this phone. And I do like the Amazon Renew program, have used them a lot. I love the flexibility and be able to return devices if you don't like it. One of the benefits of getting an iPhone through Amazon Renewed is they do have that battery health threshold that they have to keep in order for it to qualify for the program. And what's great is that on iPhones, you could readily check that without additional software. You can just go into settings and see the battery health right there and know, hey, does this meet that or not? So let's talk about the 8 Plus and what there is to like. We talked about performance. The screen is still fantastic. Even though it's an LCD, I understand it's only 1080p. It gets plenty bright. With all displays, Apple displays going back 30 years on their laptops, on their desktops, on the iMacs, all the rest of it, Apple displays, even at a lesser technology, always outperform and last better and don't look as dated as you think they're going to look. So even though this is an LCD panel, like I said, at 1080p, the colors are still bright, fantastic, great contrast. It's a screen that you're not going to get tired of looking at. With that, people talk about that outdated design. There are plenty of people who just can't stand the notch. Absolutely can't stand it because it hinders the viewing experience. Oh, we're going to talk about that next in a moment. But this is great. And when you had bezels, which other drives people nuts just the same, back when you had bezels on phones and you had a little border, you could hold the device and the device could be rounded off to make it easier to hold in your hand, but the content and the screen itself could be perfectly squared off, which I like. Part of the reason why I like the Note so much is that it has that squared off design again, because I love viewing content this way. It's how content is made. It's how it's meant to be viewed. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to spread or whatever. You get to view the content and it looks good and you get to hold it. Speakers sound good. So overall, there's really no issue there. Now we'll talk about it. Screen rotation. Love that on the Plus devices. That was so cool when they came out with that. Kind of use it like an iPad. And the software with Mail, with Messages, responds to that as well. Like you're on an iPad that you just put into landscape mode. You pull up Messages. I don't want to do it because there's work messages on there. But you have the set of messages on the side that you could scroll through, but also you could scroll through the individual message that you're on. Same with the Mail program. You could have all the Mail messages here, like you do on the iPad, and scroll through the actual content on the right side of the screen. It's multitasking without really multitasking, which is quite nice. Fingerprint reader. Geez, how nice is it to have that after a couple of years? So you pick that back up. How many times? Listen, masks, whether they're here to stay or not, I don't know. But for the last couple of years, you've been struggling with Face ID to have to, every time you're outside or in an environment where you're around a bunch of people, you're typing in your password all the time. Bam. Go ahead, hit it. Reliable, works well. 3D touch, this device has as well, which a bunch of people love. fantastic feature that you get on an iPhone 8 Plus at a price point that's $245. So you get all the functionality, you get the ecosystem. A bunch of people talk about the SE, which we're going to have, and as a new device, I think is worth it. But we'll talk about that. As a new device, is absolutely worth it. But if you're looking for a cheaper way into the Apple ecosystem, with all the apps and all the stuff that it comes with, $245 for a device that's going to be supported for another 2 years. Think about that. This is a 5-year-old device. And based on history, the fact that the 6 just fell off, and now we're on the 6S, you're going to have the 7, and then it's going to be this guy's turn. So you're looking at 2 more years of support. And when people have that reflexive, just instinctual, they look at the price of these Apple devices for what they provide. And like I said, they go nuts about those Xiaomi devices and what they could get at that price point. They're not factoring in the longevity of the device. That has a cost. That has a value that you pay up front. And does it stink that sometimes you get gypped on a feature or two because Apple gets a little stingy? Absolutely. But at the same time, and it's not here to defend them because they do some plenty of goofy things too. But at the same time, you get that result on the back end because you have a device that you could pick up and just start using like nothing's going on. Get everything done that you'd want to do and not even realize that you're on a 5-year-old device. And if I were to, what would be a comparable? An S7? Imagine if an S7 or even an S8 were running Android 12. Would you be having the same experience? I know from my S7, my Galaxy S7, certainly not. I know from my Google Pixel, both the 1 or 2, you take either one. Not the experience that I get. It's not a pick up and go. This one, despite having a very small battery, because it's an LCD, because it's not 5G, you do get a battery that lasts at least the entire day. I get plenty of screen on time, over 4.5, 5 hours, where it's not even an issue. So, even though, and the standby time is incredible. Everybody talks about standby time or whatever. You could charge this phone up and leave it, and the battery drain is almost nothing. Almost nothing. You could leave it for days and not really have to worry about it, which is absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about camera. Not great. Listen, I'm going to admit, these shots I'm going to show you are actually pretty good, but it's in decent lighting. So iPhone really didn't, and Apple really didn't start to take the photography seriously, at least in my eyes, until the iPhone 11. That's when they really came into their own with the photography and really getting the contrast and the night images and all the rest of it. In good light, you can see here, it's going to take a pretty darn good image. So you're not going to have to worry about that. Plus you get the 2 lenses, so you could go ahead and get the flexibility there. So you're not dealing with a single lens like you would be on the iPhone SE. So let's talk about just something that you could do in there and just the smoothness of it. So, all right, this is an image that I took. We're going to show the other version of it. We showed it before in the video when it was kind of this aqua. Now it's kind of a darker blue. So let's say you want to flip this. You know how you do it. You go into edit, you do that, you flip it around, and you hit done. Okay? And it's done. Try to do something like that on an older device, even an older flagship device, or some of these budget devices that people love to point out as awesome and just no-brainer alternatives to the iPhone. I just did that in about 10 seconds, no less than that, on a device with no hiccup, no lag, super smooth. If that's the experience that you enjoy, and that's a lot of people that just don't want to worry about their phone, just wake up every day, know it's going to work, know it's supported, know it's going to be a smooth experience despite being 5 years old, then $245 is a fantastic value. Talk about the build, because it was a flagship build when it came out. But Apple's got kind of the timeless design. Whether you want to say it's junk or it's an old design or it's a dated design, people know this is an iPhone. It's still fantastic build. Gorilla Glass front and back. You get the wireless charge. They call it fast charging. It's 15 watt. So nothing to get crazy about. But smaller battery, you charge it overnight, you'll be good. But the metal and glass design, just how smooth it is, curved, well built. When you pick it up, it's got that good heft on it, so you know you're getting something quality or a flagship design. I know people, and basically this was like a dual purpose video because I saw so many people getting upset about the price. And it's every time with Apple devices that everyone says, no, wait, you could get a lot more over here for less. Why would you pay that up front? Because in 2 years, when that device is slowing down and you're looking for an exit sign, this one you're not even thinking twice about it. If you're not an enthusiast, if you're not somebody who's swapping phones every year or two, this will service you for years. And still, even a 245 with the quality that you get on the build, at least another 2 years. So that to me has value, and people really need to understand that you're not just paying for what they're giving you today in comparison to a lot of other manufacturers. You're paying for what they're giving you down the line. Also, check out today's Islander watch, longislandwatch.com. Link will be in the description. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-alicious day.